All right, hello everyone. I am really hoping to do two videos today, or this week that is, and really get a good chunk of this book going because we're mm, about 150 pages from being done, which seems like a lot, but I promise you, once you read books enough, you'll realize 150 pages can go like that. So, where we just were when we were reading the last time was we read a lot of Jack's perspective, and essentially he was sitting in class, and through kind of a series of events, he realized that Augie must have heard him say those things to Julian, and he felt horrible. He felt as horrible as possible, and he was really just upset. And in the midst of all that, Julian came and kind of said, like, oh, why are you that friends with that freak anyway, blah, blah. And Jack kind of lost it and punched Julian right in the mouth. So we are going to continue reading from Jack's perspective and kind of understand and hear a little bit of what happened post-punch incident. Some things you can't explain. You don't even try. You don't know where to start. All of the sentences would jumble up like a giant knot if you open your mouth. Any words you use would come out wrong. Jack, this is very serious, Mr. Tushman was saying. I was in his office sitting on a chair across from his desk and looking at the picture of the pumpkin on the wall behind him. Kids get expelled for this kind of thing, Jack. I know you're a good kid and I don't know what happened, but you have to explain yourself. This is so not like you, Jack, said Mom. She had come from work as soon as they had called her. I could tell she was going back and forth between being really mad and just really surprised. I thought you and Julian were friends, said Mr. Tushman. We're not friends, I said, my arms crossed in front of me. But to punch someone in the mouth, Jack, said Mom, raising her voice. I mean, what were you thinking? She looked at Mr. Tushman. Honestly, he's never hit anyone before. He's just not like that. Julian's mouth was bleeding, Jack, said Mr. Tushman. You knocked out a tooth. Did you know that? It was just a baby tooth, I said. Jack, Mom said, shaking her head. That's what Nurse Molly said. You're missing the point, Mom yelled. I just want to know why, said Mr. Tushman, raising his shoulders. It'll just make everything worse, I sighed. Just tell me, Jack. I shrugged, but I didn't say anything. I just couldn't. If I told him that Julian had called August a freak, then he'd go to talk to Julian about it. And then Julian would tell him how I had badmouthed August too, and everybody would find out. Jack, said Mom. I just started to cry. I'm sorry. Mr. Tushman raised his eyebrows and nodded, but he didn't say anything. Instead, he kind of blew into his hands like you do when your hands are cold. Jack, I really don't know what to say here. I mean, you punched a kid. We have rules about that kind of thing, you know? Automatic expulsion. And you're not even trying to explain yourself. I was crying a lot by now, and the second Mom put her arms around me, I just started bawling. Let's, said Mr. Tushman, taking his glasses off to clean them. Let's do this, Jack. We're out for a winter break as of next week anyway. How about you stay home for the rest of this week, and then after winter break, you'll come back to a clean slate, and everything will be fresh and brand new. Clean slate. Am I being suspended? I sniffled. Well, he said, shrugging, technically yes, but it's only for a couple of days. And I'll tell you what, while you're at home, you take time to think about what's happened. And if you want me to write a letter explaining what happened and a letter to Julian apologizing, then we won't put any of this on your permanent record, okay? You go home and talk about it with your mom and dad, and maybe in the morning you'll figure out a bit more. That sounds like a good plan, Mr. Tushman, said Mom, nodding. Thank you. Everything is going to be okay, said Mr. Tushman, walking over to the door, which was closed. I know you're a nice kid, Jack, and I know that sometimes even nice kids do dumb things, right? He opened the door. Thank you for being so understanding, said Mom, shaking his hand at the door. No problem. He leaned over and told her something quietly I couldn't hear. I know, thank you, said Mom, nodding. So, kiddo, he said, putting his hand on my shoulders, think about what you've done, okay? And have a great holiday. Happy Hanukkah, Merry Christmas, Happy Kwanzaa. I wiped my nose with my sleeve and started walking out the door. Say thank you to Mr. Tushman, said Mom, tapping on my shoulder. I stopped and turned around, but I couldn't look at him. Thank you, Mr. Tushman, I said. Bye, Jack, he answered. And then I walked out the door. Weirdly enough, when we got back home and Mom brought in the mail, there were holiday cards from both Julian's family and August's family. Julian's card was a picture of Julian wearing a tie, looking like he was about to go to the opera or something. August's card was of a cute old dog wearing reindeer antlers, a red nose, and red booties. There was a cartoon bubble over the dog's head that read, ho, 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 and on the back, on the inside of the card, it read, to the Will family, peace on earth, love Nate, Isabel, Olivia, August, and Daisy. Cute card, I said to Mom, who had hardly said a word to me all the way home. I think she honestly just didn't know what to say. That must be their dog, I said. Do you want to tell me what's going on inside your head, Jack? She asked me seriously. I bet you they put a picture of their dog on the card every year, I said. She took the card from my hands and looked at the picture carefully. Then she raised her eyebrows and her shoulders and gave me back the card. We're very lucky, Jack. There's so much we take for granted. I know, I said, and I knew what she was talking about without her having to say it. I heard that Julian's mom actually photoshopped August's face out of the class picture when she got it. She gave a couple of copies to the other moms. That's just so awful, said Mom. People are just... they're not always so great. I know. Is that why you hit Julian? No. And then I told her why I punched Julian. And I told her why August was my ex-friend. And I told her about Halloween. These are letters, emails, Facebook, and text over the winter break. December 18th. Dear Mr. Tushman, I am very sorry for punching Julian. It was very, very wrong of me to do that. I'm writing a letter to him to tell him that too. If it's okay, I would really rather not tell you what I did because it doesn't really make it right anyway. Also, I would rather not make Julian get in trouble for saying something he should not have said. Very sincerely, Jack Will. December 18th. Dear Julian, I'm very, very sorry for hitting you. It was wrong of me. I hope you are okay. I hope your grown-up tooth grows in fast. Mine always do. Sincerely, Jack Will. December 26th. Dear Jack, thank you so much for your letter. One thing I've learned after being a middle school director for the past 20 years, there's almost always more than two sides to the story. Although I don't know the details, I have an inkling about what may have sparked the confrontation with Julian. While nothing justifies striking another student, ever, I also know good friends are sometimes worth defending. This has been a tough year for a lot of students, as the first year of middle school usually is. Keep up the good work and keep being the fine boy we all know you are. All the best, Lawrence Tushman. To Mr. Tushman, from John Will, from Melissa Albans. That's Julian's mom. Subject, Jack Will. Dear Mr. Tushman, I spoke with Amanda and John Will yesterday, and they expressed their regret at having Jax punch our son Julian in the mouth. I am writing to let you know that my husband and I support your decision to allow Jack to return to Beecher Prep after a 2-day suspension. Although I think hitting a child would be valid grounds for expulsion in other schools, I agree such extreme measures aren't warranted here. We have known the Will family since our boys were in kindergarten, and are confident that every measure will be taken to ensure this doesn't happen again. To that end, I wonder if Jack's unexpected violent behavior might have been a result of too much pressure being placed on his young shoulders. I am specifically speaking of the new child with special needs who Jack and Julian were asked to befriend. In retrospect, and having now seen the child in question at various school functions and in the class pictures, I think it may have been too much to ask our children to be able to process all that. Certainly, when Julian mentioned he was having a hard time befriending the boy, we told him he was off the hook in that regard. We think the transition to middle school is hard enough without having to place great burdens or hardships on these young, impressionable minds. I should also mention that as a member of the school board, I was a little disturbed that more consideration was not given to this child's application process, to the fact that Beecher Prep is not an exclusion school. There are many parents, myself included, who question the decision to let this child in our school at all. At the very least, I am somewhat troubled that this child was not held to the same stringent application standards, like the interview and such, that the rest of the incoming middle schoolers were. Best, Melissa Albans. To Melissa Albans from Mr. Tushman. Dear Miss Albans, thank you for your email outlining your concerns. Were I not convinced that Jack Will is extremely sorry for his actions, and were I not confident that he would not repeat the actions, rest assured, I would not be allowing him back into Beecher Prep. As for your other concerns regarding our new student August, please note that he does not have special needs. He is neither disabled, nor handicapped, nor developmentally delayed in any way. So there was no reason to assume anyone would take issue to his admittance to Beecher Prep, whether it's an inclusion school or not. In terms of the application process, the admissions director and I both felt it within our right to hold the interview off-site at August's home for reasons that are obvious. We felt that this slight break in protocol was warranted, but in no way prejudicial, in one way or another. To the application review. August is an extremely good student and has secured the friendship of some truly exceptional young people, including Jack Will. At the beginning of the school year, when I enlisted certain children to be a welcome committee to August, I did so as a way of easing his transition into a school environment. I did not think asking these children to be especially kind to a new student would place any extra burdens or hardships on them. In fact, I thought it would teach them a thing or two about empathy and friendship and loyalty. As it turns out, Jack Will didn't need to learn any of these virtues. He already had them in abundance. Thanks again for being in touch. Sincerely, Lawrence Tushman. To Melissa Albans, from John Will. Hi, Melissa. Thank you for being so understanding about this incident with Jack. He is, as you know, extremely sorry for his actions. I hope you do accept our offer to pay for Julian's dental bills. We are very touched by your concern regarding Jack's friendship with August. Please know we have asked Jack if he felt any undue pressure about this, and the answer was a resolute no. He enjoys August's company and feels like he has made a good friend. Hope you have a happy new year, John and Amanda Will. Now we're on some instant messenger. Hi, August. Jackalope Will wants to be friends with you on Facebook. To Augie Doggy Pullman at email.com. Message. Hey, August, it's me, Jack Will. I noticed I'm not on your friends list anymore. Hope you friend me again because I'm really sorry. I just wanted to say that. Sorry. I know why you're mad at me. I'm sorry. I didn't mean that stuff I said. I was so stupid. I hope you can forgive me. Hope we can be friends again. Jack. One new text message from August. Got your message, Jack. You know why I'm mad at you now? Did Summer tell you? One new text message from Jack. She told me bleeding scream as a hint, but I didn't get it at first, and then I remembered seeing the bleeding scream on Halloween. Didn't know it was you. I thought you were coming as Boba Fett. One new text message from August. I changed my mind at the last minute. Did you really punch Julian? One new text message from Jack Will. Yeah, I punched him, knocked out a tooth in the back. Baby tooth. One new text message from August. Why'd you punch him? From Jack Will. I don't know. From August. Liar. I bet he said something about me, huh? From Jack Will. He's a jerk, but I was a jerk too. Really, really, really sorry for what I said, dude. Okay, can we be friends again? From August. Okay. From Jack. Awesome. From August. But tell me the truth. Were you lying when you said that? Would you really do that if you were me? Jack Will. No, I swear, dude, on my life. From August. LOL. Okay, dude. We're friends again. Despite what Tushman said, there was no clean slate when I went back to school in January. In fact, things were totally weird the second I got to my locker in the morning. I'm next to Amos, who has always been a straight-up kid, and I was like, yo, what's up? He basically nodded a half hello and closed his locker and left. He's like, okay, that's bizarre. And then I said, hey, what's up to Henry? And he didn't even bother half smiling. He just looked away. Okay, so something's up. Despite 2 people in less than 5 minutes, not that anyone's counting. I tried one more time with Tristan, and boom, the same thing. He actually looked nervous, like he was afraid to talk to me. I've got a form of the plague now, is what I thought. This is Julian's payback. And that's pretty much how it went all morning. Nobody talked to me. Not true. The girls were totally normal with me. And August talked to me, of course. And actually, I have to say, both Maxes said hello, which made me kind of feel bad for never hanging out with them in the 5 years I've been in their class. I hoped lunch would be better, but it wasn't. I sat down at my usual table with Luca and Isaiah. I guess I thought since they weren't in the super popular group, we're kind of middle-of-the-road sports kids, that I'd be safe with them, but they barely nodded when I said hello. Then when our table was called, they got their lunches and never came back. I saw them find a table way over at the other end of the cafeteria. They weren't at Julian's table, but they were near him, like on the fringe of popularity. So anyway, I'd been ditched. I knew table switching was something that happened in 5th grade, but I never thought it would happen to me. It was really awful being at the table by myself. I felt like everyone was watching me. It also made me feel like I had no friends. So I decided to skip lunch and read in the library. It was Charlotte who gave me the inside scoop on why everyone was dissing me. I found a note inside my locker at the end of the day. Meet me in room 301 right after school. Come by yourself, Charlotte. She was already inside the room when I walked in. Sup, I said. Hey, she said. She went to the door, looked left, looked right, and then closed the door and locked it from the inside. Look, I feel bad about what's going on, she said, and I just wanted to tell you what I know. Promise you won't tell anyone I talked to you? Promise. So Julian had this huge holiday party over winter break, she said. I mean huge. My sister's friend had her sweet 16 at the same place last year. There were like 200 people. So I mean, it's a huge place. Yeah, and well, pretty much everybody in the whole grade was there. Not everybody, I joked. Right, not everybody, duh. But like, even parents were there, you know? Like, my parents were there. You know Julian's mom is the vice president of the school board, right? So she knows a lot of people. Anyway, so basically what happened at the party was that Julian went around telling everyone that you punched him because you had emotional problems. What? And that you could have gotten expelled, but his parents begged the school not to expel you. What? And that none of this would have happened in the first place if Tushman hadn't forced you to be friends with Augie. He said his mom thinks that you, quote unquote, snapped under the pressure. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. No one bought into that, right? I said. She shrugged. That's not even the point. The point is he's really popular. And you know, my mom heard that his mom is actually pushing the school to review Augie's application to Beecher. Can she do that? It's about Beecher not being an inclusion school. That's a type of school that mixes normal kids with kids with special needs. That's just stupid. August doesn't even have special needs. Yeah, but she's saying that if the school is changing the way they usually do it, things in some ways, but they're not changing anything. Yeah, they did. Did you notice they changed the theme of the New Year's art show? In the past, 5th graders painted self-portraits, but this year they made us do those ridiculous self-portraits as animals, remember? So big deal, I said. I know. I'm not saying I agree. I'm just saying that's what she's saying. I know. This is just so messed up. I know. Anyway, Julian said that he thinks you being friends with Augie is bringing you down, and that for your own good, we need to stop hanging out with you. And if you start losing all your friends, it'll be like a big wake-up call. So basically, for your own good, he's going to stop being your friend completely. Newsflash, I stopped being his friend first, I said. Yeah, but he's convinced all the boys to stop being your friend for your own good. That's why nobody's talking to you. You're talking to me, I said. Yeah, well, this is more of a boy thing. The girls are staying neutral, except for Savannah's group, because they're going out with Julian's group. But to everybody else, this is really more of a boy war. I nodded. She tilted her head to one side, like she felt sorry for me. Is it okay that I told you this, she said. Yeah, of course. I don't care who talks to me or not, I lied. This is all just so dumb. She nodded. Hey, does August know any of this? Of course not, at least not from me. And Summer? I don't think so. Look, I'd better go. Just so you know, my mom thinks Julian's mom is a total idiot. She said she thinks people like that are more concerned with what their kids' class pictures look like than doing the right thing. You heard about the photoshopping, right? Yeah, that's just sick. Totally, she answered, nodding. Anyway, I'd better go. I just wanted you to know what was up and stuff. Thanks, Charlotte. I'll let you know if I hear anything else, she said. Before she went out, she looked left and right outside the door to make sure no one saw her leaving. I guess even though she was neutral, she didn't want to be seen with me. Okay, I'm going to read one more. The next day at lunch, stupid me, I sat down at a table with Tristan, Nino, and Pablo. I thought that they were safe because they weren't really considered popular, but they weren't really out there playing Dungeons and Dragons at recess either. They were sort of those in-betweeners. And at first I thought I scored because they were basically too nice to acknowledge my presence when I walked over to their table. They all said hey, though I could tell they looked at each other. But then the same thing happened yesterday. Our lunch table was called up, they got their food, and then headed toward a new table, the other side of the cafeteria. That's not allowed, boys, Miss G scolded them loudly. This is not that kind of school. You get right back to your table. Oh, great, like that was going to help. Before they could be forced to sit back down at my table, I got up with my tray and walked away really fast. I could hear Miss G calling my name, but I pretended to not hear her and just kept walking to the other side of the cafeteria behind the lunch counter. Sit with us, Jack. It was summer. She and August were sitting at their table, and they were both waving me over.